Welcome to Washington. I'm Britt Hume. Only days after saying he never heard Reverend Jeremiah Wright's most incendiary comments in church, Barack Obama conceded today that he had indeed heard many Wright statements he strongly disagreed with in church. But in an attempt to douse the Wright firestorm, Obama sought to place it all in a much larger context. Correspondent Major Garett reports.
Barack Obama faced the Reverend Jeremiah Wright firestorm indirectly and racial tensions in America directly. The urgent political question, the one on which the fate of Obama's campaign may rest: did he say too little about Wright and too much about race? To a packed auditorium of supporters and reporters, Obama went farther than ever before in admitting that he listened in the pews to sermons from Wright that many might find objectionable.
Did I ever hear him make remarks that could be considered controversial while I sat in the church? Yes. Did I strongly disagree with many of his political views? Absolutely.
That's a notable recalibration of Obama's statement to Fox on Friday as to whether he'd ever witnessed the words from Wright he now so strenuously condemns.
None of these statements were ones that I had heard myself personally in the pews.
Obama said walking away from the Reverend is not an option, regardless of the political pressures or consequences.
I can no more disown him than I can disown the black community.
Obama then described Wright's incendiary sermons as on par with his white grandmother's far more subtle racial anxieties.
A woman who once confessed her fear of black men who passed her by on the street, and who on more than one occasion has uttered racial or ethnic stereotypes that made me cringe.
Obama even compared the Wright controversy to Clinton supporter and 1984 vice presidential nominee Geraldine Ferraro's recent comments that Obama wouldn't be on the cusp of the Democratic nomination if he were a white man or a woman of any color.
We can dismiss Reverend Wright as a crank or a demagogue, just as some have dismissed Geraldine Ferraro in the aftermath of her recent statements as harboring some deep-seated bias. But race is an issue that I believe this nation cannot afford to ignore right now.
Obama also launched into the most candid discussion of racial divisions in recent presidential campaign history. He said black anger over discrimination and economic hardships is real, but occasionally misplaced.
That anger is not always productive. Indeed, all too often, it distracts attention from solving real problems. It keeps us from squarely facing our own complicity within the African American community in our own condition. It prevents the African American community from forging the alliances it needs to bring about real change.
A candidate who's had trouble connecting with low-income whites, Obama spoke to their troubles influenced by race and globalization.
Most working and middle-class white Americans don't feel that they've been particularly privileged by their race. And in an era of stagnant wages and global competition, opportunity comes to be seen as a zero-sum game.
But for these racial divisions, Obama said, America would have long since achieved universal health care, more aggressive environmental regulation, higher taxes on the wealthy, and greater support for public education. Conveniently said, the solution to all these problems is to back a candidacy his uniquely qualified to transcend racial divisions. Britt?
Major, thank you.